Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is the one, the only Wayne Ridenauer in Memphis, Tennessee, and of course, Todd Corder on the other side of Atlanta. You can catch us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and of course, Apple and Spotify. Please like, please subscribe, and we follow back. Personal Twitter at JJGetYouOne. RWY Jr. for Wayne, and at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder. Wayne, how you doing tonight, man?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Memphis really did well against Utah State in their bowl game yesterday. And, today I've got all my Ole Miss stuff on. It's not normal that I cheer for Ole Miss, but I'm excited for them to play tonight in the Tax Act Bowl against Texas Tech. And currently, right now, Arkansas is putting it to Kansas, so that's pretty cool going on right now too.
Yeah, man, you sent me the hat for a Christmas gift, which I say thank you, and I'll put it on. I'll rep my dogs at the same time.
All right.
So I'm doing great. We welcomed Abigail into the world December 17th at 4:40 p.m. And I tell you what, my dog's running around like a crazy dog right now, and it's just fine. But Abigail came in at 7 pounds 10 ounces, so I'm doing just great. TC, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much. Congratulations on Abigail entering the world, a healthy baby and a healthy mama and Angela. And I hope and pray you guys had a Merry Christmas, and I hope and pray you have a Happy New Year. My tidbit tonight is going to be, I'm going to give something and I'm going to hold it off. So here it comes. We've all seen in the media the Jim Harbaugh rumors are starting to heat up. Now, the Michigan people have dismissed them. All Michigan people have dismissed them. Oh, it's absolutely crazy. Nope, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. It could happen. You've got rumors that he's going to Denver. He's got a connection there. I won't say that. You got rumors he could go to the Indianapolis Colts because Jeff Saturday's not going to be there. I can say that. Jim Harbaugh has a connection there. I won't say that. That's called a teaser. We'll do that for later on in the show. Also, when we'll talk college football. I'll mention it then. Harbaugh would have taken the Vikings job a year ago had the owner given the okay. He did not. So if Michigan happens to win it all, it'll get really interesting because Jim Harbaugh scratched that itch. He'll have won it all in college for his alma mater, and he's got unfinished business in the NFL. And another thing, back up the Brinks trucks, Michigan. Beep, 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 because he's going to get the money. And we always say, JJ, if you want an answer, follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money. It always comes down to it. And I know Todd went to the Panthers and the Lions game
Don't do that to me.
last weekend as well. So you got to see the dismantling of the Detroit Lions by the Carolina Panthers, who put themselves in pretty decent playoff spot if they can manage to beat Tom Brady this weekend. So lots going on. What we're going to cover on the show today is the college football playoff semifinals. We'll break those down. We'll talk about the Falcons. Playoffs hopes dismissed, but what do they need to do in the upcoming draft? And we'll give you a Braves outlook in the NL East plus the world-famous Pick Six. Let's kick this thing off with the college football playoff talk. Season has come down to the Final Four, gentlemen. Number 1, Georgia versus number 4, Ohio State. Number 2, Michigan versus number 3, TCU. Let's talk about the news and notes from the college football playoff. We'll start with the one right here in the home state of Atlanta. Our home state of Georgia and Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Georgia, Ohio State, an epic matchup. Expecting hundreds of thousands of Ohio State fans to come in and flood the area. My brother-in-law works at a hotel in the Buckhead area, and they're booked full, so it should be a fun matchup. Todd, let's talk about some of these key matchups in this game. how maybe Ohio State can take this thing, how possibly UGA can take this thing. They are 6.5-point favorites, and I'll put the ball in your court, my friend, as they say.
Well, Ohio State's had to listen for the past 30 days just how awful they are, and Georgia's got to listen the past 30 days just how fantastic they are. The line says 6.5. I'm going to tell you right now, Ohio State's going to come in and play their best game of the year. Will it be enough to win? I don't know. Who knows? But now that Ohio State has got a lifeline thanks to Utah defeating USC, let's see how it works out. When you look at this matchup, to me, if you're Ohio State, you've got to run the football, and you've got to run it effectively. You don't have to run a lot, but you've got to run it enough to keep the Georgia front seven, which probably is the best in college football, somewhat at bay. You're going to have to throw screen passes to prevent that defensive line from teeing off on C.J. Stroud. Traditional screen passes, not the jazz they were throwing against Michigan out in the flat where the Wolverines were waiting to gobble them up with cornerbacks and linebackers. Number two, C.J. Stroud, to me, has got to take what the defense gives him, and if he can see a 10-yard lane to get a first down, run to the first down marker, get as far as you can, and slide and live for another play instead of trying to throw the football in a tight window. If you can hurt Georgia anywhere, it's in the secondary, and they have one of the best wide receivers in the country. This is a chance for Ohio State to hurt Georgia deep. If you move the ball on Georgia this year, it is over the top. Flip the script and go to the other side of the football. To me, a big concern, Ohio State's defensive line. They're facing the best offensive line in the country. If Georgia's able to run the football, play action pass, get balanced, keep Ohio State's D on the field, it's going to be a long day for the Buckeyes. They're going to have to get Georgia to turn the football over for any chance for them to win the game, and they better not play cover zero like they did against Michigan, or they're going to get gashed.
Yeah, we'll see. That's one of my matchups or keys, news notes, whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen, as well. It's the matchup you mentioned, UGA's secondary versus the Ohio State wide receiver core. No Jackson Smith and Jigma, as I think you mentioned in there, but that wasn't a problem for the Buckeyes at all this season. I think he had 5 catches the whole year, so he played sparingly. At best, wide receivers Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Ibuka, they're stepped up big time, both catching over 65 passes, both eclipsed over 1,000 yards on the season. Well, cornerbacks Malachi Starks, Keely Ringo, and Kamari Lassiter, they're going to have to play like they did against Tennessee, where they locked down the deep ball. They actually showed extremely good ball skills, and that's the topic. Everybody wants to say, look what just happened. Yeah, LSU did throw for 500 yards against this Dogs team. The game was well at hand. I'm not saying that's an excuse because yards are yards and points are points. But the fact of the matter is LSU had to throw it early and often, and they were able to. So your mentioning is perfect. If Ohio State can hit a couple deep ones, Tennessee missed on those opportunities. If Ohio State hits, this is going to be an insanely close game. But the problem is, here's my secondary key. This guy named Jalen Carter. He's an absolute beast against that Ohio State offensive line. That's going to be the key matchup, as you mentioned. Can they stop that? We have very similar keys to this game because that's where it comes down to is the line of scrimmage. Am I right? So here we are talking about a guy who versus Tennessee had a sack, two tackle for losses, and 2 forced fumbles. One of those should have been a safety, but it was poorly called. And then let me check out my notes here. Obviously, the tight ends, Brock Bowers, 52 catches. Washington with 22 of them, 26 catches. Both of them have eclipsed well over 400 yards, 417 for Washington and 726 total yards for Bowers. That's going to be the difference in the game for me, Todd, is the tight ends. How are you going to cover them? Darnell Washington's a red zone mismatch for any defense in America, and that's going to be the key. What do you do you get Georgia behind the chains on first down? If you get them in negative yardage, they tend to throw the ball, throw interceptions. You can't get Stetson Bennett to do that if you put Georgia behind the chains, but that's what's going to happen.
You know, JJ, I tell you what, I want them 2 tight ends, and and I want Carter on the Lions for next season. Because I tell you what, they get those 3 players, or they could possibly get 2 of them because they've got 2 first-round picks. I'm sitting there going, I'm taking the stud tight end from California, Bowers, and I'm taking Jalen Carter from the Lions. And if I do, I'm going to the playoffs next year as long as everybody stays healthy. Those guys are such different makers, and I can say we for the Lions. I'm a former season ticket holder along with my dad, and went to the games many years in a row. But this is a great matchup, JJ. It really is, and Georgia. This is a home game. We might as well play this thing at Sanford Stadium. I'll say this. I think Georgia and Ohio State should be playing under this format in Arizona, and Michigan and TCU should be playing here under this. Now, if we get a 16-team playoff, which is ultimately I want, then yeah, games are going to be on campus and we can go with it. But until then, I don't like the home field advantage at all. It's going to help Georgia tremendously.
Right now, I was listening to 680 The Fan here locally, folks. They had a ticket expert come on and mention the fact that they think it's going to be more 50-50 than people imagine. Ohio State fans travel in masses, and I think it's going to be a unique atmosphere. But you are right, it is closer to home. But guess what? That's what happens when you're the number 1 seed. You get to choose geographically what's better to your location. So that's the rules. They're playing them. I agree with you. I wish the games were either A, on a more neutral site, or B, playing at home in the first round in a 12 or 16 team playoff, depending on what the conference the committee decides to go to. But this is going to be an interesting game from start to finish. I think it will be exciting. We've talked about, Todd, how you haven't had many exciting semifinal games. Georgia was involved in one of the most exciting semifinal games of all time against Oklahoma in 2017. So hopefully we get a game like that as entertainers, or as just an entertainment factor. But that's about my final thought. Wayne, I know you got a couple of thoughts on this game. What's your thought on this Peach Bowl here in Atlanta?
Well, it comes down to this. Which one of these 2 teams wants to get beat by TCU?
Yes. I'll like the pick. That's a great teaser going into the next game we're talking about. Wayne, or I should say, Todd, your final thoughts on the Georgia Ohio State matchup?
Segue. He just did it. He just did it for all of us. Thank you. Segue. Next.
Segue. Yeah, we're good. All right, just making sure we all got everything we had to say out about that Ohio State and Georgia matchup. I love the segue. Michigan, TCU, and the Verbo Fiesta Bowl out there in Tempe, Arizona. How will Michigan handle TC wide receiver Quentin Jackson? He's the real deal, 6'4", 225, and arguably the number 1 wide receiver prospect in the upcoming NFL draft. I think that's a huge key, and one of the few ways TCU can exploit Michigan is through the air. If this guy is as good as they say he can be an X factor. Dugan's a finalist for the Heisman for a reason. This offense is sneaky good. Their defense, not so much. That might be the key in the game right there, is that Michigan running game versus that TCU defense. It's given up over 25 points per game, and, well, we all know they've given up over 385 yards a game, and they struggled against Baylor to stop the run. This Michigan running attack is probably the best in the country. It's going to be tough for me to go against the Wolverines in this one. Todd, give me some keys to your game for this one.
Oh, man. Again, I'll go right back to my opening statement. Michigan's been the greatest thing since sliced bread the last 30 days. TCU on the other side doesn't have a chance. Everybody's already said it. The networks have already kind of implicated it. You know what? TCU is going to stay in this ball game. They have played with guts and grit and tenacity and determination all season long. There is a couple of matchup problems, though, that's going to make the difference in this game. And to me, it's the Michigan offensive line against the TCU D-line. TCU is 57th in the country versus the run, and Michigan is as good as anyone, a la Georgia. They are going to line it up, and they're going to force TCU to load the box. And when they load the box, J.J. McCarthy is going to roll out, lick his chops, and split that secondary, a good one, because he's only thrown a handful of interceptions all year. I hate what they did, what Michigan said. We were just happy to be here last year. That's all a bunch of crap. They got their butt whipped last year by Georgia. And I've never liked an athlete saying, we were just happy to be here a year ago. That's a ridiculous statement. You're happy. You're going to win. You play every game to win. Hello? You play to win the game, duh. So,
Thank you.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, okay, we'll flip the other side. Max Duggan is gritty, a really heck of a quarterback. Hasn't turned the ball over this year. Yes, you mentioned the wide receiver matchup, but I'm telling you, nobody in the Big 12 plays defense like Michigan, and Stanstrill and that secondary shut down the Ohio State passing game in the second half. I think TCU hangs around. Does Michigan cover the spread? It's somewhere between 7 and 10. I like Michigan to win. Maybe they win by more, but I think gutty, gritty TCU team does find a way with Max Duggan to stay in it. They've got excellent running backs. TCU's a pretty good running team. The only problem is they haven't faced a run defense like Michigan's all year, and they haven't faced a pass defense like Michigan's all year. But you know what really is interesting, and you and I haven't said it. I'll say it now, JJ, 30 days in between games. Yes, it's great. You can get all your little bumps and bruises and all that jazz healed up. But, man, there is nothing like playing a game for practice simulation, and nobody has played in 30 days, and that's a long time. Let's see how that plays into the game, especially at the beginning of each game.
Yeah, no, that's why I mentioned that as well. The TCU defensive line against this rushing attack from Michigan, Donovan Edwards has stepped right in for Blake Corum and done extremely well in his absence. Makes it seem like they didn't even miss a beat. It's going to wear down that TCU defensive line, and by the end of the game, I think Michigan will pull away. But I'm with you. Max Duggan is gritty, gutty. We talked before this podcast here about the strength of schedule that TCU has played. I think it's a pretty good one. I don't think out of the playoffs, I don't think it's the best one. I think it's the second best schedule, and that's why I didn't totally disagree with you off air. But I think Georgia's final results against the top 25 at 5-0 outholds TCU's schedule. But they have played a great schedule, and that has prepared them for moments like this. And I think they'll stay in this game simply because Max Duggan doesn't seem like a guy that you can tell him he's done with the fight, if you know what I mean. The guy is
gutty and gritty. You're right.
He's going to bring it. He's going to bring it for 60 minutes, and Michigan better be ready to play, or else they're going to get knocked in the mouth. And I want to hear Wayne real quick before I'll go back to you, Todd, in a second. Wayne, give me one reason TCU wins this game.
Well, I'll give you two reasons. I've got a feeling that TCU has nothing to lose, and they're going to be playing to win. I have a feeling that based on how Harbaugh coaches, Michigan is going to be playing not to lose, and I think there's going to be a lot more interceptions than they expect because as soon as they see how TCU is playing, I think they're going to get a little bit outside of their normal routine, so to speak. And TCU is wanting to get the taste of that championship game out of their mouth against, what was it, Kansas State?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what,
revenge tour, you say. I like it. TC, back to you. I want to hear your finishing statements.
Well, no, thanks. I was going to say, he kind of brushed on some of my points. It was 30 days. But Jim Harbaugh and Michigan will not play to lose this game. They'll line up and they'll play wild, fast, and free. This is really when Jim Harbaugh is at his best as a coach. He has been a big game coach in his career. You look at his NFL career in San Francisco, they weren't the favorites. They came into Atlanta and went to the Super Bowl. And if it wasn't for a lousy pass interference call they didn't get in the end zone, he might be having a Super Bowl ring now. But in terms of not playing for 30 days, that's a good point by Wayne. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, TCU, everybody's telling them they don't have a chance for 30 days. And I just think you and I agree with this, JJ. I think we're going to get the two best semifinal games we have gotten ever. We did get one good one you mentioned with Georgia versus Oklahoma. If we get anything like that, if we get two of those, JJ, I will sit on my couch and really enjoy that.
Yeah, I'll be grabbing my popcorn the entire time. I think these are two really good matchups. My final thought, I do. You'll see my pick six in the future. I do think Michigan will win. I think Kendra Miller over 1,300 yards rushing for TCU, 17 touchdowns. He's averaged over 6 yards a carry. I think him and Johnson together, if they can get going out of the backfield, catching passes, keeping Michigan honest, they could stay in this game for a lot longer. And as I mentioned off air to you, Todd, if TCU's in this game in the fourth quarter, it's going to be an epic matchup. If they're 10, 12 points behind going in the fourth quarter, I think Michigan may pull away. Guys, any final thoughts on this one before we head to our next segment?
Wayne, you got one?
I just beat it.
You know what, JJ, you know what? I'll go back to it again. I said the first game. I'll say it the second one. Turnovers and special teams are so critical in these type of playoff games. You know, you can flip the field with a great special teams play, and you can flip the field with a game-changing turnover. So, to me, watch for the turnovers, watch for the special teams. And Michigan, you know what? They might put Donovan Edwards back there to return punts. I haven't seen anything like that, but that's a Jim Harbaugh type move. That's the type of move. You know he's going to have a trick play in there. It's coming. They had one against Ohio State. What's it going to be? And you know what? Speaking of trick plays, I think TCU and Ohio State are going to have trick plays too. I think Georgia's the type of team, they might have one themselves, but, you know, it seems like the underdogs are the ones that have one. Jim Harbaugh has one, whether he's an underdog or not. So look for the trick plays, too.
I like it. Look for the ace up the sleeve. Let's move from college football playoff talk to the Atlanta Falcons. Disappointing season continues. Falcons started out 4-4, only won one in their last, gosh knows how many games off the top of my head. Playoff hopes dismissed on Christmas Eve with a 17-9 loss, another one-possession loss to the Baltimore Ravens. What do the Falcons do with their draft in April? Wayne, why don't you tee this one off? As a fan, do you want to see Ritter even more? Do you want to see a quarterback? What do you want the Falcons to do in April?
Get better defense. Quit letting the other team score so much.
You can't bother with that one. You really can't. The defense has been lacking. It doesn't seem like they can stop a cold right now. Todd, what about you? I'll throw it to you, man. Falcons draft needs in April are mostly what?
You know what? You're the producer. You can say whatever the hell you want. So I like it. So, you know, when I look at Atlanta and I look at needs, I mean, they've got needs all over. Right tackle, left guard. They got a need on the defensive line. They've got a need at outside linebacker. They've got a need for a playmaker at wide receiver. We still have a wait and see at quarterback, but I can tell you right now, Bryce Young's there. Atlanta will pull the trigger. If anybody else is there, wait and see. So that's why I'm using a wait and see. And we'll see how Desmond Ritter does the next two games. It's really hard, though. You know, I'd like to see Atlanta in these next two games give a chance for Ritter to move a little bit more on his feet, roll him out, and get him out of that pocket more to either run or throw the ball downfield so he's got a little bit better vision potentially. But, you know, Atlanta needs playmakers. I mean, the tight end's done for the season. You've got the one wide receiver, the Drake London. I know, I mean, they're set at running back. That's one position they're set at. And you know what? If they grabbed a tight end to go along with the stud tight end they already had. That's what took New England to the Super Bowl, was that two tight end offense. I wouldn't mind that neither. They got a lot of needs.
Yeah, a lot of needs. I think pass rush again is up there at the top of the list, but look, quarterback might be in play. Desmond Ridder hasn't exactly lit up in his first two NFL starts. 35 for 59 for a completion percentage of just over 59%, averaging 157.5 yards a game. No touchdowns yet. He has not thrown an INT, but he easily could have thrown a couple in his very first start against New Orleans. Look, it's early in his career, and I'm not saying he's going to be good or bad, but right out this gate, you have seen players have success. And recently, you have Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, Mac Jones going to the playoffs last year in his rookie season with Bill Belichick. And then you go back to Matt Ryan's first play ever, first drop back is a 75-yard touchdown pass to Jenkins. So you see success in spurts right away, and it shows you something like, hey, this guy's got it. I don't know if Desmond Ridder has it yet. I'm not saying he doesn't. It's very early, but I haven't seen anything that says, man, this guy makes your team that much better right now, like Kenny Pickett did. He obviously outperformed Trubisky, and he's now the starter for what seems to be the long term. So if you're right, Todd, if Bryce Young is there, and right now the Falcons are looking around sixth in draft, maybe being able to move up from that this weekend if they possibly lose to J.J. Watt and the Arizona Cardinals. But there's a lot to need here. You mentioned all their needs. I don't disagree with a single one of them. I think safety's a major need as well. I think, again, another wide receiver playmaker would be not out of the question, but they're near the bottom of the league in sacks again, and that's got to change. Wayne, you mentioned it. They got to be able to stop players from scoring, and one of the ways you do that more effectively than anybody else, ask the Cowboys, it's get after the quarterback, because when the quarterback's on the ground, he can't throw the deep ball. He can't even hand it off. So Falcons have tons of needs moving forward. What do? It's really going to come down to these last two games and what Desmond Ridder does. And if he looks pretty good, who knows what happens in April? They could be sticking with a guy who's had now 4 games under his belt going into next season. Guys, any final thoughts on the Falcons draft before we move on to the Braves real quick?
You know, JJ, I would really hate to be in that's a tough position for the Falcons. Not only that has to do with how Ridder plays, it has to do with if they lose these 2 games, they're going to be up higher in the draft, and they're going to have a chance to draft a quarterback. If they win them, they're going to push down in the draft, and they'll have less of a chance to draft a quarterback. But I'll tell you what, if I'm the Falcons, I can get Jalen Carter and those 2 tight ends from Georgia. Hello, I'm going to grab them because they're Sunday players and they're playing on Saturday.
Wayne, final thoughts? I think I heard you try and get in.
Well, one thing that Desmond Ridder is slowly beginning to learn, the NFL is not fickle ball.
It's not what?
Well said. It's not Luke Fickleball.
Oh, man. Luke Fickleball is going to Wisconsin, man. There's nothing wrong with Luke Fickleball.
He's a great coach, but no,
Well,
I get your point. It's a whole new nut to crack in the NFL, and he's learning how to do it on the run. Let's move to the Braves real quick. Keep the show going. The NL East has had 3 postseason teams last year. 1 went to the World Series in the Phillies, 2 and 200-win teams in the Mets and the Braves. The Mets have been big spenders this offseason. Where do the Braves stand in the loaded NL East? Does Atlanta get their 6th straight division crown? Todd, I'll throw it to you first, buddy.
Well, it's way too early to answer a question like that. I mean,
I agree, but it's fun to talk about.
Way too early. What is the date today? December what? December 8th. Why don't you ask me in June? I mean, it's just way too early. The Braves to me are silent and sneaky. And what I mean by silent and sneaky is Alex Anthopoulos. That guy works he look at the ability, but he look at the player's market ability and also what it determines for its team. Atlanta they just acquired left-hand pitcher from the Yankees in exchange for a couple right-handed minor leaguers, Lucas Lutig from the Yankees. It's a minor league deal. But, these little minor league deals for Atlanta sometimes makes it a major league deal. And then you look at the second deal the Braves did. They extended catcher Sean Murphy, again, another Alex Anthopoulos young player extension. They just extended him after they acquired him from the A's. Another brilliant move. They signed, Sean Murphy, $73 million, 6-year contract that'll run through 2028. And here's another under-radar move, JJ, and this one I am really intrigued about. I should have talked to you about this earlier today, but I didn't. They signed Jackson Stevens to a 1-year non-guaranteed split contract for this season. He spent last season with Atlanta. ERA was in the mid-3 games and 39 games. He can start. He's a versatile pitcher. I like that move. And there was another move here. They acquired, where was it? Oh, I'm so sorry. It was an under-radar move. They acquired a hitter, a first baseman, and it's killing me. Yes, here it is, Jordan Luplow. I'm sorry, I had it in front of me. To a 1-year contract.
I was about to correct you, but I was going to let you get it.
Oh, well, thank you. Jordan Luplow to a 1-year contract worth $1.4 million. And you know what? He's 29. He had 11 home runs last year. And you look at his career, when you look at his stats, he's got pop in the bat. He doesn't hit for high average, even though he's hit for high average before. Coming here in this ballpark as a left-hander, it's kind of tailor-made for him. He can potentially make the club as a 4th or 5th outfielder, and see these little moves that Alex Anthopoulos is making can turn into big moves as the season goes. I'll get real quick to the Mets. The Mets and the Phillies, we all know they spent this boatload of money, and you know what? I mean, Justin Verlander's a stud, but it's a huge risk. I mean, something happens to him, he's done. And where do you go?
To piggyback on that point right quick, and I'll get back to you. Scherzer and Verlander, you're relying on two over-the-hill pitchers in terms of innings pitched in their careers. So we saw Scherzer look extremely human last time he went out in the postseason, and same with Verlander. So you are right. That is risking a whole lot of money and all the biscuits for some older pitchers that who knows if they give you the same that they've given you in years past.
JJ, can I make one point real quick, if I may? These guys that are older, and the Mets are going to have to manage their arms as the season goes through. They're going to have to put them on an inning account so they can be effective in the playoffs, because last year, Verlander finally got his first World Series victory. But you know what? He was getting bagged and tagged as the season went along and got tired, and so did Scherzer. And to me, from a Mets perspective, that right there is it's a risk. You're going to have to manage it. I know they've made other moves, and they've spent a boatload of money. And, of course, the Phillies, oh, my gosh. I mean, they went after, they got Turner from the Dodgers. I know that we need to go, but this stuff is an absolute risk. And, not so much from the Mets. The Phillies is not as much a risk because Turner's a heck of a ball player. But Atlanta doesn't want to be paying these aging players in their mid to upper 30s. And I think that's really smart because you're getting burned on the back end of the contract, may I say.
Yeah, and we all know there's still a holdup with the Carlos Correa deal. So the Mets may not have Carlos Correa. It's about 50-50 now, as other teams have mentioned they were going to get in on that pursuit. So that's now two teams that found in an in-depth physical, they don't like what they see with Correa's leg, where it was rehabbed in basically when he was a minor leaguer, and it's been 6 or 7 years ago. It's been a while when he was a Astros minor leaguer. So look, the Braves are five-time defending division champs for a reason. Last I checked, the Braves get back Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna. They're going to have them healthy. Soroka may be able to make a comeback. They get Luke Jackson back from who was good 2 years ago. They get him back in a good stacked bullpen. You mentioned the Jackson Stevens move. I think these little moves equal up to a big payout. You mentioned the Sean Murphy deal. That deal is 6 years, worth $73 million. Could be worth up to $88 million with the $15 million option for 2029. So the Braves have this core locked up, and credit Alex Anthopoulos for doing it. He's not spending an arm and a leg, but they're getting up there in payroll. And let's not forget, they got Sean Murphy, they got Travis d'Arnaud, Austin Riley did the same thing. Michael Harris, Alex Anthopoulos did the same thing. And Spencer Strider, all these guys that had some rookie contract time left, they're getting them, they're signing them, and they're keeping them here for a long time. And that, my friend, is exactly what you want to do as a GM. So hats off to Alex Anthopoulos and the way he's done it. He's competing with these billionaire owners. And obviously Liberty Media could do the same, but he does it the way Liberty Media wants to do it, and he's doing a great job of it. So I love all the moves you mentioned. The Ludlow move is huge. He very well could make this team as a backup first baseman, maybe a left fielder, platooning with Rosario. And remember, the Braves do still have a Gold Glover out there, former Gold Glover Marcelo Ozuna, who has had issues in left field as recent. But if he does hit, he is worth the risk, and he's still out there. And if he does a 2020, well, he carried a lot of that Braves team for the beginning part of that season until Freddie got going. So there's lots of options to do, and we could talk about this for days. But TC, I know Wayne has a quick thought real quick on the Braves, and then TC, I'll throw it to you for a final thought.
Well, I just wanted to say that I recently made a trip to Atlanta, toured some things, did some sightseeing, and one of the things I did was I took the tour of Truist Park, and I would recommend that to anybody that visits Atlanta. It's worth the money to go there and tour. Kim got to sit in the press box and in the dugout, and we got to be on the field, but we did not get to step on the grass. They do not let you step on the grass. But it was fantastic. So anybody goes to Atlanta, visit Truist Park. It's well worth it.
It is. I agree with Wayne 100%. And JJ, you and I haven't even talked about the elephant that left the room, and that was Dansby Swanson. I mean, you've seen the contracts from these shortstops. They've gone bat crazy. I mean, these teams are going to be paying shortstops till they're 40 years old, which means to me the last 3 or 4 years of the contract, you're wasting money, and you're potentially wasting a roster spot. You know, they signed Swanson to the Cubs 6 years, $177 million. I mean, holy smokes, I'm Atlanta. I pass on that too. You know I'm big on Vaughn Grissom. I think he's going to be a really good player. I think Atlanta maybe potentially may get a stopgap shortstop till he's ready. Or, the Braves, they'll just throw you in there, and if you can play defense and you hit later on in the season, they're really happy with that because, they could pick up the Pirates star player too, the outfielder, and they can have an elite outfielder. They can have an elite outfield. They're not done making moves, JJ. It's way too soon. Your thoughts? What do you think?
It is way too soon, but it's always a fun topic to ask you and I. I'm glad we both see it. It is way too soon to talk about this. But again, that's what we do. We try and get y'all talking, try and get you water cooler stuff. And that wraps us up for the Braves, guys. Let's go ahead and get into the famous Pick Six. And as we have picked through 84 total games this year, Wayne and I are tied at 38, 41, and 5. TC is one game behind at 37, 42, and 5. Let's get to it. 4 college, 2 pro this week. Remember, we go from Monday spreads Notre Dame, number 21, 8-4 versus number 19, South Carolina, also 8-4. Notre Dame's a 2-point favorite. The over-under in this one is 52. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, aka the We Beat Clemson Bowl. TC, Wayne, then me. Then we'll change it up for the next one.
Who goes first? I laughed when you said we beat Clemson Bowl. Who goes first? Is it me?
Tee us off, TC. Tee us off.
Oh, my God, we beat Clemson. You know, I want to say something real quick. I have not hardly watched any of these bowl games, and that's what the playoff has kind of done. Now that the playoff is upon us and these big-name teams are playing, I'll start gluing in, but I really haven't, and that's kind of what the playoff has done, is it's made these other bowls less meaningless, which is really a shame. I will say, you know what? I did check out some of the Eastern Michigan game because my wife went to school there, and they won their first bowl game, and Chris Creighton has done as good as anybody at a coaching job in college football, taking a program that was dead, that only had one bowl in its history, and only been two, and that was back in the 80s, to 5 bowl appearances and 1 win. That's as good as any coaching job as anyone in the country. Back to Notre Dame and South Carolina. The Gator Bowl, you know what? I'm taking South Carolina in this game. What is it, -2? I like South Carolina to win by the luck of the Irish by a field goal.
Wayne, what you got?
Well, I'm taking South Carolina and the points on this one because I've been kind of a fan of the Gamecocks almost all year long, and to me, this bowl game is probably going to be the most interesting bowl game of all of them.
I can't argue with that.
Just because of the two teams.
I like it too. I've been saying that the whole time. This and the next college game we're picking are two of the most intriguing non-BCS, or excuse me, I still say BCS, non-college football playoff games. This one, again, Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, a.k.a. the We Beat Clemson Bowl, is Friday at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. Notre Dame's down their starting quarterback, Drew Pine, who decided to transfer to Arizona State. They're also down Michael Meyer, their projected first-round draft picks, opting out, and their best pass rusher, Foskey, who had 12 sacks. So they're losing a lot more than South Carolina, who just is down their running back, Marshawn Lloyd, who hit the transfer portal. And I like the recent play of Spencer Rattler a lot. 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his last 2 games. He threw for 438 yards versus Tennessee, 360 versus a darn good Clemson defense. I like Beamer ball as well. Game number 2, number 6 Tennessee, 10-2 versus number 7 Clemson. They're 11-2 and ACC champions. Clemson's 4.5-point favorites. The over/under in this one is extremely high at 63.5. It's the Capital One Orange Bowl, the AKA we lost to South Carolina Bowl. I'll go first on this one. It's Friday at 8 p.m. on ESPN. If Hendon Hooker's playing in this game, I like Tennessee a lot more, and I like the mindset of the Vols going in here. But I think Cade Klubnik, this freshman quarterback for Clemson, has really sparked this offense. And it brings the question, why didn't Dabo Swinney make this switch earlier? I like Clemson big.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking Tennessee in this one simply because I've got a lot of family that are Tennessee fans. It's a SEC team, and it's a triple orange bowl, and what could be more orange than Tennessee, right?
I like it.
They're all wearing orange, Wayne, and I love it as a producer. You can say whatever the hell you want. You know what? Give me Clemson. I'm with JJ. Tennessee doesn't have this. You know, they're going with Joe Milton, the former Michigan guy at quarterback. He never really showed me much at Michigan. He hasn't really shown me much at Tennessee. And I like Clemson's D-line to maul Tennessee's O-line, and I like Clemson's O-line to beat Tennessee's D-line. I like Clemson to win and cover.
The first college football playoff game, number 3 TCU 12-1 versus number 2 Michigan 13-0. Michigan 7.5-point favorites. Over under is 58 and a hook. College football playoff semifinals at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. How about we go TC, Wayne, myself this
Wayne
time
goes
again?
first this time. Wayne
All
goes
right,
first.
we'll go Wayne. We'll go Wayne. You go first, Wayne.
I've already gone. I'm taking TCU to win this game. I'm taking TCU to win everything.
That's why I did him first.
Oh, yes.
You know what? That's hysterical. 7.5. This is the one that I really sat here and pondered that, I really did. I pondered it. TCU has played close games all year. Michigan has not. I like TCU to cover. I like Michigan by a touchdown.
TCU and the points for Wayne and TC. I got the Wolverines. Look, here it comes down to this. Max Duggan might make it interesting for a while, but that running game will wear and tear the TCU D-line. J.J. McCartney's going to be able to make plays. Donovan Edwards will be able to run through some massive holes because Michigan offensive line might be the best in the country. And I don't know if this game will be close in the fourth quarter, but if it is, it'll be extremely close. But I'm thinking Michigan's going to pull away. I think it will still be entertaining. I think Michigan will win by 10 points. I like the Wolverines to cover. That wraps up our college games.
Yeah,
we only got one more.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Well,
yeah.
JJ, I'm changing my mind. I think Michigan wins by 8. I changed my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind. Give me the Wolverines.
Yeah. See, both of y'all are falling. Both of y'all are falling for that Big Ten hype, and that's going to cost you.
I forgot about the Dogs game because, you guys are right. I forgot about it. 4 Ohio State at versus number 1 Georgia. 11-1, 13-0 is Georgia coming in. 11-1 is Ohio State. UGA 6.5-point favorites. Over under 62 in this one. It's the college football playoff semifinals at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I'll tee this one off Saturday night, 8 p.m. on ESPN right here in the Atlanta, very own Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Jalen Carter is a force to be reckoned with. I think that's the difference in the game. I think he's looking to improve draft status in a game like this. Ohio State's going to be one-dimensional. I don't think they'll be able to run the football. I think they'll be forced to pass, kind of like Tennessee was. And I think Keely Ringo, Malachi Starks, Kamari Lassiter, Bullard, all these cover corners, these DBs, Chris Smith involved as well. I think they'll pick off. I think they'll make a big play. They'll pick off Stroud a time or two. Heck, Ringo may even take one back to the house. Dogs cover.
You named your dog after him. I'm hoping you think he takes one to the house. So I'm going to say Georgia by 7. They just cover, just like Michigan just covers. These games are going to be close. They just are. Like we said earlier, TCU and Ohio State have heard for 30 days they don't have a chance. And it's going to be close, but I just got Georgia and Michigan just covering that much.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that Ohio State is going to look a lot like Cincinnati did last year in the semifinals. And if you're going to look at that over under a 62, I'm saying go way under because I don't really even think Ohio State's going to score more than 10 points.
Oh, so you think Georgia's
so you're thinking Georgia big?
Yeah, Georgia's going to win this game by a lot more than 6.5.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
well,
I was not expecting that. I was writing down Ohio State as we were typing. I was convinced you were going with the points.
No.
Wayne with the shocker. Wow. Now I'm back on track. I forgot about the most important game. No, I'm just kidding. One of the more important games of the weekend.
You tell the truth.
Let's go ahead and jump into the NFL. I also, obviously, we always pick the Falcons in this one, but I also wanted to pick this one because a special player announced his retirement. One of my favorite players in the NFL of all time. Hats off to J.J. Watt in a wonderful career who announced he's going to retire at the end of the season. This game is Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox. Atlanta's a 4-point favorite. Over-under on this one's 41. No Kyler Murray, but the Redbirds will still have J.J. Watt again for 2 more games. I think he'll make things difficult for quarterback Ritter, and Colt McCoy isn't that bad in a role like this. I am getting the Cardinals and the points. I think Atlanta might win, but by one single point.
Yeah.
Cardinals and the point on that one for me.
Yeah. I'm picking the Falcons in this, but this to me this is a bowl game that I'm calling the Bad Bird Bowl because neither one of these teams is really that great right now.
Good point.
Yeah, they're gonna be serving a whole lot of Chick-fil-A in there. Well, are they even serving Chick-fil-A on Sunday?
No, the can is closed on Sunday.
Well, shoot. Well, no. I guess that really will. No bad birds on sale.
No bad birds is the Bad Bird Bowl. Wayne's kind of right. We knew Wayne was going to take the Falcons. JJ, nicknamed AK the Homer, actually went against his home team. And yes, the Ohio State-Georgia game is the most important game to you. Again, now I'll go to my pick. I'm with you, JJ. I think the Cardinals cover 4 points. I think it's a 3-point game, and I'm not sure who in the hell is going to win. But you're going to give me the Cardinals and J.J. Watt and 4 points in this circumstances? I'll take the Cardinals every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Oh, yeah, they're playing on Sunday.
And our final game, Monday Night Football, pits the Bills at 12-3 at the Bengals 11-4. Buffalo is a single-point road favorite. Over/under in this one's 49.5. Again, Monday Night Football, 8:30 p.m. on ESPN. Both teams come in to that game needing a W for better playoff positioning. If the Bengals win this game, they actually have an outside shot to get to home field advantage throughout the playoffs in that 1 seed. This game is, again, in Cincinnati. Bills are in need of a big performance from standout wide receiver Stephon Diggs, and I think he comes through. I like the Bills, and it's a pretty easy cover as long as they win by 2 points. Now, watch them win by just 1 point, and it'd be a push.
You might be right.
Well, I'm taking the Bills in this one. This is a super tough game to call because both of these teams are looking forward to playoffs and where they're going to be positioned in the playoffs. And neither one of these teams is going to be willing to give an inch. I guarantee you there's going to be more going for it on 4th down in this game than there will be any other game total.
You know what? I agree with him on that. I agree with him on that a ton. That is a great point, Wayne.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic point. JJ, we have been the same on the first 5 games today, which makes me go, what the hell am I doing? No, I'm just kidding. I'm going with Cincinnati. You giving me the Bengals in 1 point at home and a chance for the Bengals to have the best record in the AFC? What is that, WKRP in Cincinnati? No, I can't sing, but that was the show back in the day, and Wayne and I know about it. JJ, I don't even know if you were in diapers when that thing came on. I've got the Bengals. I like Joe Burrow. And Buffalo, they're just jinxed. I don't know why. They just can't get over the hump and win the big game. I guess it's the 4 Super Bowl losses, and I guess that's still in my head, even though it has nothing to do with today. Give me WRKP in Cincinnati. Give me the Bengals. And
TC went with the Who Day up there in Cincinnati. Yeah. Guys, that wraps up our show. My final thought. Happy New Year to each and every one of our listeners. We want to say thanks for sticking with us for another year. Wayne, TC, your final thoughts of the night?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to 2023, not just because, basketball's going to be in full force coming up soon, but I'm looking forward to a lot more interaction with people, than there has been the past 3 years. I think 2023 be more of a get back to normal year.
Wayne, I want to thank you for the Memphis hat, too. I'm wearing it, even though you can't see me on camera. Number 1. Number 2, please, Lord, don't have JJ anymore. Put the Falcons on the rundown until next year. Please skip the Falcons next week, please. And number 3, I wish you guys a happy and prosperous new year. I'm so sorry the show took longer. My family actually left in the middle of the show, and they're coming home right now. So we're ending just in time. And I know we went longer than we were supposed to, but you know what? I've had a blast. God bless you both, and Happy New Year to you and your families.
That's right. For everybody, for TC, for Wayne, I'm JJ. If you like the content, give us a thumbs up. Give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, and we'll catch you next time. Get you one.